I'd like to start off by asking you all to close your eyes and imagine yourself outside on a warm, sunny day. You might be by the beach listening to the rustling of the waves, or out by a lake under a big oak tree. Wherever you may be, a thought pops into your mind, or rather a wish that this day may last a lifetime. However, it is not long until you are greeted by the sobering fact that this beautiful landscape around you is forever bound by the changing of the seasons. And just as the seasons are forever rotating, affecting nature's landscape, so as we continue to grow throughout the seasons of our life. And while it may not always be easy, it is important to approach these pivotal times with both grace and a willingness to adapt. I myself have faced considerable challenges, some of which have changed me in drastic ways. This is why I'm excited to be here with you today, to provide you a glimpse into who I am by walking you all through the seasons of my life. I will start out in my younger years, the summer of childhood, so to speak, a time where I basked in the warmth of comfort and support from my loving family and friends, as well as the brightness of my childhood ambitions. My parents divorced when I was very young. Despite that, I never suffered any sort of lack of love or support. As I look around at my mother and my father, my brothers and my stepfather, I realize there was no shortage of family in my life. And while I may not have appreciated it at the time, I was very blessed to have such a wonderful support system. This period of my life was also an opportunity for me, a social exploration. Despite being a somewhat awkward child, I managed to nurture connections with so many friends, some of which I still enjoy to this day. I was also a child with many passions, passions that fueled a light inside me. At the age of 12, I joined a swim team. And at first, it was just for fun. But after practicing day in and day out, morning and evening, I became one of the best in the state. I even had my sights set on the US Open and possibly one day the Olympic trials. And working towards such a lofty goal taught me a lesson that no matter what I do, I need to approach it with an unwavering commitment. I was also a very musically inclined child. I learned how to play numerous instruments, good guitar, saxophone, piano, just to name a few. And while learning to read sheet music and traversing scales back and forth may have felt like a grueling process, it enriched my life in so many ways. Now I know what you're thinking. Am I just going to stand up here and brag about myself for 5 whole minutes? Well, as I'm sure that you are all aware that the summer of childhood innocence does not last forever. There comes a time in all of our lives where the warmth of that comfort and support begins to cool, and our childhood ambitions must take a back seat to responsibility. For me, this period started about halfway through my senior year. My parents lost their business, and this forced me to forego college and stay at home to help provide for the family. And it's here that summer had turned to fall. I entered the workforce at the age of 17, and this was a chilling reality to come to terms with. I got my first job at a local pizza shop in Durham. I was working 12-hour shifts, 5 days a week. I knew I had to do my part because the support system around me was beginning to wane. And I can't say it was all bad though. There were lessons learned, such as the value of a dollar or the satisfaction of a hard day's work. And these are just a few of the building blocks of who I am today. While this did bolster my character, I was stagnated all the way through high school or through my senior year. I received recruitment letters for my swimming. Every time I would open one up, my heart would race and that flame inside would ignite, only to be extinguished by the harrowing reality that my parents could never afford to send me to college. This disappointment brought my passion for swimming to a grinding halt. I also failed to find time for my music. The demanding workload created a vicious cycle that ultimately suppressed my creativity. And just as I began to acclimate to this bleak autumn forecast, I experienced a life-changing event. An event so traumatizing that it sent my life into a desolate, stark winter. At the age of 20, my family fell victim to an armed home invasion. Returning home late one evening in March of 2013, I was greeted by a horrific scene. Police cars down the block, fire trucks, and an ambulance, and my mom in the front lawn, blood dripping down her forehead. As I approached the scene, a police officer informed me that my stepdad had been shot. I was instantly frozen in fear. By far the hardest part was taking care of my brothers, who were very young at the time. I couldn't let this trauma affect them. And while my stepdad did live to tell the tale, he could not work for a very long time, so the weight of responsibility weighed heavier upon my shoulders. And as the years went on, I numbed my pain and my stress with an unhealthy coping mechanism, drugs. And while drugs gave me an instant relief, it only served to exacerbate my trauma in the long term. And as my problem worsened, all the skills I had learned throughout childhood began to wither away. And as the years went on, my winter felt more like an ice age, my ecosystem cold and devoid of life. And just as I began to accept this, a savior appeared, a savior who brought warmth and comfort back into my life, a savior that helped bring brightness into my life, a savior named Marley. I met her at the age of 26. She is the most beautiful woman I have ever met. It is because of her that the bees are buzzing and the blossoms are blooming once more. Her support has given me the ability to come to terms with my past and accept and work on my trauma. Her unconditional love serves as an oasis of comfort and security. Her encouragement has reignited a light inside of me. Finally, I'm able to shine bright again. It is because of her that I'm here at Wake Tech, broadening my horizons, bringing fulfillment back into my life. And this is why I decided to make her my life partner. We got married March of this year, and in hand, we entered a ceremonious agreement to grow and endure the seasons to come as a unit. So as I ask myself, who am I really? I can't help but paraphrase the great Aristotle. I am whole, greater than the sum of my parts. There is no one trait that defines who I am. My identity is a dynamic force, one which grows and evolves throughout life. So with that, I will answer the question at hand. Who am I really? I am Michael, a man that wields all of his past triumphs and all of his mistakes, a man that will continue to grow and welcome change as it comes my way. I am Michael, the man that stands before you today. So with that, I ask you all to reflect on where you've been and look forward to where you will go. Never let a mistake define who you are, and welcome change with open arms. Because just as nature is bound to the changing of the seasons, so are you to the seasons of your growth. Remember, you are always human and you are infinite.